In this session, we will be talking about Claude Cowork, and you will learn how you can drive more customers to your Amazon product listings and make more sales. And our guest today will be Chris Rawlings from Sophie Society. Hello, Chris.
What's going on, Augustus? What's up, everybody?
Yeah, what's up?
Let's talk
Uh,
AI.
yes, let's do it. We did not similar session, but another session about Claude and its capabilities about 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago, and it gets a lot of views. So please check. I will we will add the link below at the top of the screen if you want to watch that session. But today, Chris, we will be talking about Claude Cowork, right?
That's right.
All right. And before we jump into the content, yeah, once again, maybe just very shortly, tell us what you do and how you help Amazon sellers, Chris.
Yeah. So I run a company called Sophie Society. We operate a portfolio of brands. We partner with brands and we take over their Amazon PPC. And then we use the data from their PPC to help them take actions to improve the profitability of their brand. And we're now more and more helping them to deploy agents, AI agents that improve the profitability and the growth trajectory of their brand, all fed by their PPC data, which is the richest data source that you can get. So we're basically just helping brands grow profitably with AI and Amazon PPC advertising. We're kind of a mix between human strategy and automation and AI execution, which I believe is the perfect mix. And I think that's the future of the next 3 to 5 years of any kind of entrepreneurship, but especially here in e-commerce.
And yeah, now company without AI integration or AI agents or AI coworkers is not anymore like if you don't do that, then you are losing advantage, I guess. All right, so
Absolutely.
let's jump to the things you want to share, and maybe before we start with the content, just very briefly from you, with your words, what you will share with us today.
Yeah. So today we're going to go over basically an end-to-end flow. We're going to use an end-to-end flow of improving the click-through rate specifically of a listing to get more sessions and more sales without more ad spend, utilizing PPC data. And this is going to be like a kind of a microcosm of what I told you guys just now that I do professionally, my team does with brands, which is to grow their profitability and grow their revenue utilizing PPC as a strategy point and the data from the PPC to implement agents and agentic systems that allow them to increase profitability and increase margin. So this is going to be one example flow. And through going through this experience with me, you're going to learn how to generate these flows yourself. So
Yeah.
as a little diagram, um, we're moving. 2026 is basically the year of shifting from individual AI tools to complete end-to-end AI workflows. And that's why we're focusing on Claude Cowork in particular and Claude Code, mostly Claude Cowork. Because if you think of how you use AI last year, it was more what you see on this left-hand side, individual AI tools where you ask a question and you get a response, or you ask for a particular output and the output comes right back to you. So draft this email, the email draft, is written in the chat box. This is what you think of when you're using ChatGPT. Summarize this document and it writes a point by point summary. Generate this image, you get an image back. What we're moving to now is end-to-end flows where you're not delegating specific discrete tasks, but rather a larger complex problem and allowing agentic systems to solve them. Now, we're still at the point where a lot of times humans are still involved in this process. It's not completely AI end to end. And you'll see how the kind of human AI interface works through the example that we're going to share today. But in general, this is where it's going. And more as time goes on, just even throughout this year, but especially throughout the next 2 to 3 years, more and more of complete problem solving and complete domains of responsibility rather than individual tasks are going to be taken over by AI. agentic systems. So Augustus, you already introduced me. I'm not going to double introduce myself, but suffice to say, I've been in the game for 11 years selling on Amazon, investing in Amazon brands, partnering with Amazon brands, and operating not only my own personal brands, but a portfolio of brands through brand owners that I partnered with. I'm one of the single top spenders of Amazon ads on the platform. I spend over $5 million every month. And I'm saying that not to like boast to you guys, but because there's so much AI slop and there's so much AI hype on YouTube and on blogs and on LinkedIn, and it's really hard to know what to trust. And the only real way is to deploy agents and workflows that are actually being used on 7 and 8 figure brands. So that's really one of our core value propositions for the events that we throw, and our partners, is that we're just showing you only what's actually deployable. This is my team. The one thing, if there's anything I've done right in my entrepreneurial journey, it's been being able to attract the smartest people in the industry. So a lot of the stuff that I share, including some of the stuff we'll talk through in this video, comes from my team, not me. And don't worry, I don't want to make it sound scary or anything. We're going to go through a very simple flow in this video. I'm keeping it totally accessible so that anyone can do this no matter your level. If you're advanced, you'll definitely still get something out of this. If you're beginner, this is something you'll still be able to handle. So, yeah, I also have one of the fastest growing YouTube channels on the topic of Amazon PPC and AI for Amazon brand owners. So I recommend you check that out too. Just search Chris Rawlings and you'll find it. So why now? The last 3 months, basically just the first couple months of this year, we're now in the middle of April. So it's only been 3.5 months of 2026. And the amount of progress in AI that's applicable to e-commerce brands and entrepreneurs has been more in these last 3.5 months than it was in the previous 2 years. So the whole year of 2024 and the whole year of 2025 put together only equals the amount of progress we made in the last 3.5 months. So the rate of change accelerated dramatically. And that's why this is suddenly a very popular topic and a very relevant topic, because a lot of things that were kind of novel or interesting to explore before are now becoming absolute requirements. We're going to get to the point where by the end of next year, potentially even for some brand owners by the end of this year, saying that you run an e-commerce company without AI will be like saying you run a software company without computers. It's simply impossible. If you try to do it, you're just destined to fail 100%. That's the future that we're heading towards, because the capabilities of agentic AI have completely turned on its head the way that an Amazon brand or an e-commerce brand is run. And you're already seeing these crazy stories. If you search YouTube, you'll see like 17-year-old kids creating multi-million-dollar brands in the span of weeks, just using agentic AI, and single person billion-dollar companies. This is happening fast, and it's happening now. And it's due to mostly a lot of new tools that have come out. We're going to cover a couple of them today, but we're mostly focused on Claude Cowork, which is an agentic AI tool, which is very different from a conversational AI tool. And we'll get into that in a second. We're going to go through a dedicated flow using multiple tools and multiple agents to go from the very beginning to the very end of a complex problem, not just a task. So it's going to be really exciting. You guys are going to love it. I'm going to give you a downloadable skill that you can use in your Claude so that you can just take this home and you don't have to go through all the prompting that we go through in this session. You can literally just do it yourself. So the whole point of all the content that I produce, and especially today's content that we're doing together, is to remove overwhelm and just turn that into clarity, because it's so difficult with all of the different, there's just new AI updates seemingly every day. So if you're in these group chats, you're perusing YouTube or you're on newsletters and stuff like that, and you just keep seeing new tool update, new models, new this, new that, and you just don't know what to try. You literally can't, as one person, try all these tools. It's impossible. And you wouldn't want to, because the truth is, between 9 and 10 and maybe up to 19 out of 20 of these updates and tools are not actually useful. They're just interesting or novel. But some of them, 5 to 10% of them, are actually incredibly useful. you got to know which one is which. And the focus of this video, Claude Cowork, this is one of the ones that you need to pay attention to. If you've been hearing about this, but you've been kind of ignoring it, this video should be your wake-up call to actually do it. And I think by the end of this video, you'll agree. So Claude Cowork is different from the AI you might be used to. And we covered this a little bit on the video that you and I did together, Augustus, recently. But just to quickly cover this, and then we'll get into the flow itself. Claude Cowork is multi-agent orchestration. So whereas chatting with ChatGPT, you send it a message, it responds back to you. You send it another message, a response, and it responds back to you. It's kind of like having a conversation with a person. Claude Cowork is not like having a conversation with a person. It's like having an employee that you delegate complete responsibilities to, or at least complex multitask, larger tasks to, or missions or objectives to. So when you submit a request to Claude Cowork, it has an orchestration agent that then employs multiple other agents that keep all the context and then bring that work back to the orchestrator, who then compiles it and utilizes even more agents to put it together into whatever the final output is. So that's very different than what most people are used to AI from 2023 up until 2025, which is just chat-based AI, LLMs. This is very different. So we're going to talk through a little bit usage, how to set it up, capabilities, what orchestration is we just covered, chat versus agent-based we covered, how to use it in browser, connectors, local files, and context. I'm just going to breeze through those things really quickly, and I'm going to use the example to show you guys those things so we don't waste time on too much time on basics. But here's what this example we're going to go through is going to help you with. You're going to find out the difference between chat versus Cowork versus code, the 3 different modes inside Claude. You're going to find out how to create and use skills. You're going to find out how to create artifacts, which is another word for basically web apps or tools. You're going to learn how to share those skills and artifacts with other members of your team and with other people, even the public online. You're going to learn about scheduling tasks that are done repeatedly. You're going to learn what connectors are and why they're important to actually be effective with Claude. You're going to figure out, we'll walk through how local files work, because Claude Cowork is something that works on your local desktop, not in the cloud. And then we're going to walk through how to actually prompt it properly for quality output. And we're going to do all this through actually doing a real example together. So I'm not going to bore you guys with theory. We're just going to get right into it and actually do an example. So we talked about the difference between chat and agent. I'm not going to harp on this too much. The main message that I want to send to you guys, and I did say it in the last video we did together, Augustus, is just fuck around and find out. This guy reading the book about surfing is not a surfer. This guy in the waves is a surfer. So if you're the person who's been, and I'm guilty of this too sometimes, if you're the person who's been watching video after video, newsletter after newsletter, post after post about AI tools, but you're kind of afraid to just open them up and test them, this is your calling. I am here to tell you now is the time to open it up and try it out. And just simply use the simplest possible attempt. Type to the AI like a dumb baby. And if you do that dumb baby typing enough and you just keep going back and forth, you end up just getting better and better at it naturally. So just get out there and get wet. Stop reading and watching videos, except this one, because I'm the one telling you to do things. So, to partake in this, you have to download Claude onto your desktop. It's free to download the software. So just search download Claude, hit the first link, you'll download it, and it looks like this. You'll see 3 things up at the top. This actually changed a couple days ago. It's now in the upper left-hand side, but you'll see chat, Cowork, and code. Chat is classic conversational AI, what you're used to with ChatGPT. Cowork and code are agentic AI systems with multi-agent orchestration, like we just discussed before. Another cool thing that Cowork can do is it can work in your browser. So you can have it, if you ask it a task and it needs to utilize your Chrome browser to do this, to work in a file that you're currently working in, for example, like I am here, it can just go in and start working alongside you in Chrome, which is pretty cool. To do this, you have to install the Chrome extension, which again, is free, easy. You could do it immediately. So to do that, you just go to apps and extensions, scroll down, and you'll see install Chrome. And it's just one click, it's installed. And then you'll see Cowork working alongside you in Chrome like this. It's like a colored group that it gives a name, and it'll open Chrome tabs. Now, this is a little foreshadowing for you. You have to be very careful with how you utilize this with Amazon. And I'm going to get into this later on. This touches on compliance. We didn't talk about this last time because we didn't have time, but I had to be responsible and include it today. Make sure that you stay in this video until that point, or you could get yourself in big trouble with Amazon. We're going to discuss this a little bit later on, but first we're going to go through our example. Here are the different outputs that you can get from Cowork. It can output a interactive tool or widget. We call that an artifact. It can output a PDF report. It can output a spreadsheet or a Google Sheet. It can output a PowerPoint presentation, or it can just take direct actions on your behalf, sending a Slack, filling out an online form, updating a Google Doc that you're in, deploying a live website, or a whole host of other direct actions or groups of actions. And this is actually what makes it really powerful compared to conversational AI-based tools like ChatGPT, because it actually connects to all of your critical softwares, tools, and accounts. You really do need a pro account at the very minimum to utilize most of this. And for most of you, I'm guessing once you get into it, you're actually going to end up upgrading to Max. My whole team, within like a week of of moving over to Claude, almost everyone on the team was already using Max. And there's even like a Max XL, which is double this. It's $200 a month. But you could do all this stuff with just the pro version. And you actually, if you know anybody with Claude, people that are already using Claude have free passes to give other people for pro. So you can get, I think, 2 weeks or a month free just by asking someone to give you their invite or invite you directly. Okay, let's get into the workflow. And what we're going to do is a complete end-to-end from very beginning ideation to very final result example of a multi-agent AI orchestrated complex task. So this isn't something like draft an email. This is a much more difficult thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our PPC data. And the key here is we're trying to avoid AI slop and instead create work that's equal to or better than human output. This is the critical thing, because I mean, even for me, like I'm very active on YouTube. I post every week. And in my research for my YouTube videos, a lot of times I'm always posting things that me or my team have actually done or are experimenting with. But many times I want to cross-reference what we've done with what other people are doing. And I'll search YouTube and I really don't see much good stuff. I think everyone's just kind of starting to figure this out together. So there's just not that much good content on this stuff. But a lot of times I see really silly or trivial use cases that aren't very useful or are just kind of fun and interesting, but they don't actually move the needle. Or I see output that I would never use on my listing or in my business or in one of my partners' businesses. So what we're focusing on is actually creating quality output that a professional that you would trust would produce. So we're going to go all the way. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take our PPC data. We're going to analyze our PPC data through our search term reports. We're going to generate insights from that data analysis. Then we're going to use those insights to create hypotheses about what new images we could create based on what the data says, based on what our customers are actually doing, how they're actually behaving, what keywords they're clicking on, what keywords they're not clicking on, what keywords they're converting for, what keywords they're not converting for, what whole keyword shopper intent groups are converting versus not converting, et cetera, and other data sources, and come up with excellent hypotheses about what might get more clicks or more conversions, and then actually go and use those hypotheses to generate prompts that we can then put into the best AI image generator for e-commerce right now, which is Nano Banana Pro, and then actually generate the images and then edit and finish the images so that they're actually ready to be uploaded. So that's many different steps. Each of those things you might do on your own or with a VA or with the help of AI, but putting it all together is a whole different story. And that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to go from beginning all the way to end. Because if I'm just using Nano Banana Pro to generate my images, well, how do I know what image to create? How do I have a good hypothesis about what will actually get a better click-through rate so I can run a good experiment? What prompt do I use to create that image? That needs to be informed with data, which is a whole separate process, has nothing to do with Nano Banana Pro at all. So it's going to take multiple agents, and we're going to go through this whole process, taking the PPC performance data to analyze the data, distill those insights, then form click-through rate hypotheses, then generate images, then clean up and make the images professional ready so that they're ready to actually be uploaded, all with AI. So we're going to do that now. First thing we're going to do is just download our sponsored products report. You guys all know how to do this. If you don't, I have a video all about search term report analysis on my YouTube. You can watch that later. But it's very simple. You're going to export the maximum amount of data that you can get, which is 2 weeks. Download that report. And then once you have the report downloaded, we're simply just going to upload this into Slack with a very simple prompt. Now, this prompt, I actually didn't show it in this little clip that I have here, but I added to this prompt afterwards. I can share you guys the prompt, but you're not going to need it because what I'm going to do is give you a skill that actually does this. And if you haven't seen this before, I think you guys are going to be blown away by what you actually get from Claude with this. Some of you guys are paying hundreds or thousands a month in software or a year maybe in software that does this, that now Claude can do for $17 a month as one of many hundreds of things that will also do for you in addition to it. But let's watch. So here's what it generated. I have keyword insights. I see my top 30 keywords by revenue, already very useful. Has the click-through rate, ACoS, and ROAS right there, the total number of sales and the cost alongside the click-through rate. And this is the data that's going to help us to generate our new images, right? Then we have 25 most efficient keywords that had a minimum of 3 orders. Now that's incredibly powerful. You can see a lot of these are branded search terms, but many of them are not. Now that I know that those are super efficient, what does efficient mean? That just means super low ACoS. So if you look over here, it's got ACoS of 1%, 3%, 5%, 4%, 6%. And like I said, some of these are branded search terms, but many of them are not. About 1/4 of these terms are not branded search terms. So now I know I'm killing for these. And there's a lot that you can do for this, right? Obviously, you're going to up the bid and try to create keyword campaigns in more different ad types with these same keywords. You might generate dedicated creative for those keywords. We're already getting a ton of insights that we can use to make our brand more profitable, right? And we're only on the first tab of this analysis. And I just can't even overstate this. I literally made a video, I think 6 months ago, on how to do search term report analysis utilizing Google Sheets and pivot tables to actually get raw insights from your search term reports. And just in the last couple months, that video has now basically become completely irrelevant because this analysis is like 20 times better than your own pivot table. You're getting insights here that it would take you a very expensive, a moderately expensive software or a data scientist level Google Sheets wizard to get otherwise. So it's honestly, this is already incredible. And this is just the first step of our little journey here. So now we've got high spend and high ACoS keywords. Those are ones we're going to want to negate. High impression, low click-through rate keywords. So those are ones that we want to look at, right? If it's high impression, low click-through rate, either it's not relevant enough or our primary image isn't speaking to that intent enough. And we're going to go deeper into this now since that's the whole point of this flow. Now, I specifically asked it in my prompt to include a whole section on shopper intent. And this is something that's an ethos inside Sophie Society, where we always segregate our keywords by shopper intent, because there's always a number of different groupings. Some people are searching for capsules. Some people are searching for powders. Some people are searching for loose leaf. Some people are searching for tea bags. There's always a group of shopper intents that will all be relevant to you. And the key is to know not what keywords are performing, but what keyword groupings are performing based on what the shopper intended for their particular problem or their particular use case or their delivery mechanism or whatever else it is. So I had Claude Cowork segregate my campaigns in shopper intent by shopper intent, and then tell me the performance of each shopper intent. Again, this is a very powerful. I actually don't know another tool that does this. Inside my company, we have protocols for this because we know it's one of the most effective ways to improve the profitability and growth of our brands. But there's no tool, no third-party tool that I know of has actually done this. So this is already really powerful. And check this out. You could see hydrogen product. We have hydrogen category, descaler or softener, water bottle, water filtration, branded, competitor, structured water. These are all different groups of intent, and it's giving us the performance of each. And you can see sometimes they're drastically different. And this is the true insight that we can really use to have massive impact on the performance of the product and of the brand as a whole, is trying to figure out how we can cater to these shopper intents. And there's a ton of different ways to do that. For example, if you have a shopper intent, if I have a foam roller for the shoulder, and that's one shopper intent, everyone's searching for shoulder or upper body, and then it can also be used on the back, I'm going to create dedicated PPC video ad campaigns to run in sponsored brands for shoulder and back when I see how they're performing, so that I can increase the click-through rate for both of those groups without changing anything. Because now I have dedicated creative targeting only them when they search. And if my campaigns are set up via shopper intent, I can upload dedicated creative for those different shopper intents by uploading it only to those campaigns. So this is incredibly powerful. We have really huge wins by doing this. This is one of the biggest ways that we create turnarounds and profitability for brands that are new to Sophie Society. And now anybody can get this insight. And I'm actually going to give you guys a skill. We'll put it in the link in the description of this video. We'll say it's the first link in the description of this video, where you can just run this yourself. Literally, you'll just upload the skill. Claude will ask you for your search term report. You will upload it, and then it will generate this entire analysis for you. You see top 30 wasted search terms. It's the wasted spend and how much we were wasting on it. Wasted spend by shopper intent, like we were talking before, but it actually graphed it out to make it really easy to see. And then there's product insight. So it broke it down by product. I just generated, a full-on report with all the products, but it actually separated out the product performance for each of the products, and it categorized them and summarized them. So this is, and by the way, for this example, I cross-referenced this with the actual data to make sure there was no hallucination. This data is accurate. So this is already super powerful, right? Now, there are tons of actions we could take from this, and this could be a 7-hour webinar that we do, but we're trying to keep it to an hour-ish, right? So we're just going to follow one path of this. So what can we do with these insights, and how can we keep using AI all the way until the finished product? Not just getting insights, not just getting advice, not just getting the tool, but taking it all the way. Okay, so let's talk skills. So once I've done that, and this is why this is a kind of meta little course we're doing, because you guys are going to learn this whole flow, how to take PPC data and turn it into a new primary image that gets you more free flows of traffic from the same amount of ad spend you're already getting. So you'll get that flow. But through this, what I want you to learn is actually how to create your own. So in this example that we just did, the way I created the skill that I'm giving to you guys for free to download is I simply, once I got the output that I wanted, and like I said, there was some back and forth here that I didn't show you guys. I had that initial prompt. I didn't like the response. I gave it some feedback. I asked for the shopper intent stuff. I tweaked it back and forth until I got that output that I wanted. I just didn't have time to show in a video like all of that back and forth. But once I got the output that I wanted, literally all I have to do is say, create a skill. So, sorry. Yeah, first, what I was doing here was describing artifacts. I'm getting ahead of myself. So this tool here is called an artifact. That's what Claude calls it. It's basically like a web app that's running locally on your computer. This could be run in a browser as well. But it's still sourcing the HTML code from your local computer. So you couldn't send this link to someone else and have them open it because it's pointing to a location on your desktop. But you can utilize the tool in your Chrome browser, which is cool. And you can also make that so you can open that anytime in your Claude folder. And you can pull this onto your desktop so you can open it from your desktop. But the coolest thing that you can do with it actually is create a web app from it. And we're going to go through a deeper example of that in a second. But first, what I did here was, because I can't share this with someone else, because it's my data and it's static. And if I shared this tool with someone else, first of all, it's hosted on my local computer. Second of all, it utilized my data. So the artifact itself doesn't have a place to upload new data. The best way to share this tool so that somebody else can use it, like I'm doing with you guys today, is to turn this whole flow into a skill that generates this dashboard fresh every time. So all I have to say to create that skill that I can then share with my teammates, I can share with my colleagues in my Amazon communities, I can share with anyone. I could even sell it online as its own little miniature software tool, whatever I want to do, is say create a skill that generates this search term dashboard just like this from the user uploading a search term report from Amazon. That's all I had to do. Once I got the output that I really wanted, that's all I had to say to generate this skill. And then Claude generated the skill for me. So you can see it went through the thought process and then it generated the skill. So all I have to do is click save skill. And now that skill is mine. And it will always show up if I hit this plus bar under skills. But I can also find the skill file. It's called search term report analysis.skill in my folder. And I can send that to other people. They can load it into their Claude and it will walk them through the process of uploading their search term report and getting this very same exact analysis. So that's pretty cool, right? We're already at the point where that is something you never could have done with ChatGPT, right? So you can see this file here, search term dashboard.skill. That's my skill. And I can just send that file to anybody in Slack, via email, hosting it online or whatever. And they can then use that to get the exact same analysis that we just looked at. So you can see now how I get it is I hit that plus, go to skills, and I see search term dashboard there. I just click that, click enter. I don't have to give any prompt or anything. I just hit the skill and it's going to ask me for what it needs. So it's saying, can you upload the search term report? I could have uploaded it with the skill, but I'm just showing you how easy it can be. All I'm going to do is upload that search term report. And now I don't have to prompt anything. It already knows what to do based on the skill. And you can see the dashboard is generated just like the last dashboard that I had. It's consistent, same output, same format, same useful format. And again, if you guys want that skill, you can test that yourself. I highly recommend it. If you run this, you're going to learn a lot. And I guarantee you're going to find problems in your PPC that you can fix right away. So yeah, you can get, if you download the file from the description of this video, you'll immediately get it like this in your little skills library. And to just so you understand what to do with the file, you literally, all you have to do is drag the file into Claude like this. You saw me do it. You just take the file that you just downloaded, the skill file, drag it into the chat window, and it will automatically upload. And in this case, I said install this skill. It's going to do that automatically if you hit enter anyway, but that's the easiest way to install a new skill. So yeah, you guys can do that. I also put a little QR code that you can use to download it here. So you can just scan this with your phone and download it. And once you download that, like we were saying in the beginning of this little presentation, actually try it, actually use it. This is your calling. It could not be simpler for you to test out Claude Cowork in a very useful way than doing this. You're going to download the skill, put it on your desktop. While I'm talking, by the way, you can just open your phone, open the camera app and scan this QR code, and that'll give you the skill right away. You're just going to download the skill from this QR code, drag it into your Claude Cowork window, and then it'll ask you for your search term report. You'll upload your search term report and you're done. Then you can just browse through all of the insights and start getting direct value out of Claude. And whether you're beginner or you're advanced, you're going to get value out of this. So let's move on to the next stage here. Now we've got the insights. Let's turn them into hypotheses. So we have the insights from the data. Now we're going to distill. We distilled the insights by using that artifact, that skill that created the artifact, which is the tool that we were walking through. The next step is to use those insights to generate click-through rate hypotheses so that we can then use those to generate prompts for new AI images that we can then utilize for our primary image or A/B test with our current primary image. So I said, using the best insights from this data, create 5, I'm in the same chat here, create 5 hypotheses of primary image designs that would have the highest possible click-through rate, back up the reason you believe that image would have the best click-through rate, study the methodologies of the best proven thought leaders and players in the Amazon seller space. So I like to add that in because it kind of forces Claude to use proven methodologies. And there's a lot of good ones that are publicly available out there. Internally within Sophie, we actually have Claude reference our own Notion library because we have an extensive library of strategies for everything from click-through rate optimization to PPC video creation to everything with examples and all that stuff. But this is a great way to make sure that it's not just taking general info, but actually taking info from proven thought leaders and real sellers that have shared their data. So now it's referencing, it's got a few different data to reference. And I could have added more in here too. I could have added, the first page of competitor search results. I could have added my listing or a number of competitors' listings. But we're trying to see what it can do just from the data to follow this flow that we're going through. And let's see what it produced. So what it gave me is this full document with 5 hypotheses. It walked through in the beginning. I went through that very quickly, but it walked through the thought leaders that it was referencing, an executive summary of what was covered in there and all 5 of the hypotheses and why they would work. And then it goes into the hypotheses one by one. And I actually had to prompt a couple times to get it to actually include the Nano Banana Pro prompt ready to copy and paste for each hypothesis. But let's read through some of them. So I should have made this a little bigger, but the first one is, so this is a hydrogenation water bottle. It adds hydrogen to the water. So the first hypothesis was the quote unquote science made visible, showing active hydrogen bubbles inside the bottle. Now, in my case, we actually already have images like this. So I decided not to use that as my first one, although it is a really good hypothesis and absolutely almost certainly would increase click-through rate if that wasn't already being done. And you can see it's backing it up with data. It's got the data from all our PPC and it's backing up its hypothesis from the data that it's getting from the click-through rate and conversion rate of these particular shopper intents, as well as referencing the top thought leaders in the industry of click-through rating and conversion rate optimization. The next one was premium tech object feel. Now, this is one that I wouldn't have thought of. It was trying to make like a smooth, like Apple style product. I thought this one was really interesting because I'm always going after more very obvious things like adding a different color pop or adding a model or adding the variations or adding the use case to it or adding the context from the environment. This was an interesting, different take that I wouldn't have thought of. So I already really appreciated this one. It basically, like if you read through the prompt, it's just really specific lighting. It's a very nice angle. It's kind of floating. It's really got that Apple feel. And I actually tested this. I'm going to show you guys how it worked out. I didn't end up choosing that one to go with, but and I'll tell you why in a second. Next, it was scale and context. So this is the handheld usage. So I actually searched the first page of search results, and there was only one other top ranking brand that was doing this, and they seem to be doing well. So that was further validation for this. Plus, it validated it based on data from the search term report plus external data. And I thought this one was good as well. And it generated 2 more hypotheses as well, both of which could have also been tested. This one is the complete system, being that a lot of people search with the word machine. The hypothesis was that they're looking for like a whole set, like everything included in the machine, not just a bottle. So it's showing the charger, showing the docking case, showing all of the stuff together, which again, that's a good hypothesis. The next one was the color pop. This is one that I definitely would have thought of. We use this all the time inside Sophie Society. It's making it like glow, making it look glowing, like and in a like a radioactive way. This is a really powerful technique. Also works really well, but some of the images for our product actually already had this, so we didn't utilize that one either. In any case, this report is really useful, and if you look through the front page of search results, you can see most of these strategies are not being employed by most of the top ranking brands. So that's a sign that there's potentially a space for us to take more click share by being different and standing out. There have been high eight-figure brands built on just click-through rate optimization and nothing else. If you've ever read the story of Orange Click, this was one of Thrasio, a big aggregator for those of you guys that have been in the space for more than a couple of years of 2020, 2021. This was their big win. They bought this company, Orange Click, and then they just maxed the click-through rate out. So they pulled all the organic clicks by making a bunch of click-through rate optimization changes. They changed the color of the packaging. They put the primary search term on the packaging. They maxed out the window of the packaging of the Amazon primary image window area. And they did a number of other things that just blasted the click-through rate up. And they were able to 20x the brand. It went from just a couple million to the high eight figures just from that, just from the click-through rate optimization.
And Chris, you said Orange Click. The company was called Angry Orange, not Orange.
Oh, I said Orange Click. That's
Yes.
Angry Orange, is it? Yeah. That's damn, dude. You're getting in my head, Augustus.
That's good.
You're hypnotizing me, man. So yeah, so now we're actually, so we analyzed the data, we distilled insights from the data, we formed click-through rate hypotheses based on those insights. Now we're going to actually generate the images from those hypotheses. So we're moving on to yet the next step. So what we're going to do is go to aistudio.google.com. You can do this in Gemini because we're using Nano Banana Pro. You can do this in Gemini. I have a whole video about this. A couple weeks ago, Google really messed up image generation for Amazon sellers because it launched Nano Banana 2, which was actually a downgrade from Nano Banana Pro. And now every single time you generate an image in Gemini, it defaults to Nano Banana 2 instead of Pro. And it's in our experience, it's very clearly inferior to Nano Banana Pro. So there's actually no way to generate first generation images with Nano Banana Pro in Gemini anymore. You can only regenerate an image that was already generated with 2 with Pro again. But by that time, the damage is already done. So it kind of made it so you have to do a workaround to use the best image generation model available. And the two ways you can do this are go to aistudio.google.com and you can use Nano Banana Pro there, or you can use Google Flow and you can use Nano Banana Pro there as well. And the cool thing is with these tools, you can actually generate multiple images at once. You can change the resolution. You actually have a little more power over the image. So it's kind of better anyway. But yeah, that's why I'm in AI Studio. So click on the Nano Banana Pro model on the right-hand side. Now we're going to just literally copy our prompt here. So I wanted to try the Apple one, the Steve Jobs style one, right? So I paste in the prompt. I upload my reference images, 2 reference images, and we're going to see what we get. So this is what I got. I actually liked this. I thought it came out cool. It's very different than anything on the front page, but looking closer, I realized that it messed up the details here. These are not what the buttons look like on the bottom. And this is not what the latch looks like on the top. So it messed it up. And I also, while I thought it was cool, I didn't think it was game-changing enough to have a big impact on click-through rate. And that was just my personal opinion. So I decided, first of all, I wanted to find out what happened there because it missed the logo, it messed up the buttons. And I saw in the prompt said no text, no logos, no watermarks. That was the problem. So This is where, like I was telling you guys before, we're not yet at the point where you could just say, hey, AI, go get my PPC search term data, go figure out based on the data what new images would get me more clicks for free, get the images, make the images, and upload the images. We're not quite there. We might get there, but as for now, it's you can do that whole flow, but it's like AI running it while humans checking it. That's kind of the best way to do it. So this was one of those catches where I have to remove this no text, no logos, no watermarks, because I do want text and logos because that's part of the product. In any case, while I like that one and I do think it might have had a chance, I wanted to get one that I thought had a bigger chance, which was this one, showing the scale by having a human hand holding it. I knew this would work because we've utilized this strategy in hundreds of other primary images before, especially in toys and certain things where the scale really matters. And this is one where it does, because in the same search result, you get really huge bottles, really small bottles. Some people want a picture that they can put on their cabinet, on their kitchen table. And some people want a bottle that they can throw into their backpack. And you really can't tell by just looking at it what the size is. So I knew that this would have a significant impact on click-through rate, which is why I decided to go with this one. So I pasted this just like I did before, pasted this prompt in, but this time I removed that line that said no text, no logos. I upload my reference images here just like I did before. And we see what we get, which is this. So not a bad start. It's pretty clean. It's a hand holding the bottle. But when I look really close, okay, so no, first of all, what I did was it looked too boring. So I said, add a bubbly vortex, because this is what the product does. So now it's looking more action packed. I can see the scale because of the hand. It looks more action packed. But the thing is, when I zoomed in on here, I realized, first of all, the logo is perfect. Got the logo right. So the text thing, not an issue anymore. But I just didn't like, it was too realistic. Like I could see the graininess of the cap. And when I scrolled down, I realized there was a little bit of gibberish on the text down there. So it got everything right about the proportions, and it added, the sexy vortex for me. Everything's good, except the bottle itself is too realistic and there's gibberish text. So now we have to fix that. And this is again why I mentioned to you guys, if I had just let AI do the whole thing through multi-agent orchestration, I'm not going to get a result that I want, because we're still at the point in AI. This may change. It may change in the near term future. I'm not saying it's always going to be like this, but for now, we're at the point where it's AI agent-based workflows assisted by or checked by humans. And think about how much, it's literally still like a 2 orders of magnitude faster process. Like if you had to do this without AI, this would take you weeks, obviously, because you'd have to do photo shoots or hire a rendering artist and go back and forth with editors and Photoshop designers. You'd have to have somebody analyzing the search term report to come up with the hypotheses in the first place. We're doing all this within the span of like 30 minutes. And yeah, it takes some human checking, but this is still orders of magnitude faster and more effective than the way just only a couple months ago, only 5 months ago, you couldn't do it this way. So my prompt was, I skipped over it here, but my prompt was switch from a photo to a rendering. And what else did I say there? Switched from a photo of the bottle to a high def rendering of the bottle. And then I got this, much cleaner. Now it looks super clean, super professional. I don't see that unwanted detail. This is great. Now, the only issue I have left here is this text, this gibberish text. This is like a pervasive issue with AI image generation, even the best model, Nano Banana Pro. If the text it actually does text pretty well, but if the text is small, it's usually going to mess it up or create gibberish. So I tried to correct this in chat by giving it a zoom in of what the text actually looks like, which is this, the 5min 0339. But when I did it, it just wasn't working. It started malfunctioning and I was going back and forth with it, and it wasn't getting better. So my solution here was simply take it into Canva. I took it into Canva and just easily swapped in this text, that 5-minute text there. And that's the beauty of like AI human collaboration. When the AI kind of like petered out, I just took it the very last 1%, the very last thing that I needed to make this actually useful. And now it is. This is a completed, ready to upload picture. The only thing I would do is crop the little extra white space there, but it's high res, high def. It's got everything that I want to be able to split test this as a primary image. And I even fixed the text down there. You could see what it was before. And this is my little fix. Super easy to do in Canva. No problem at all. Canva's got AI editing. So you can literally just like select something and remove it, even if it's like has a background or it's overlaying other things. Canva has amazing editing capabilities now that you don't need like a Photoshop class to be able to do. Anybody can do it. So all I'm doing is downloading this full res image. And now it's ready to go. Although I would add the cropping, like I said before, but you can see I could zoom way in. There's great detail on it. It's high res. It's got the right text. Everything's ready to go. And that was all done, not just from a whim. That was done from the data. So that means it has a much higher likelihood of actually working. Now, think about doing this at scale. If you're doing this nonstop, and we're going to get into a second scheduled task, but if you're doing this over and over again, and you're constantly coming up with data-backed hypotheses about how to get more free traffic to your listing through the existing impressions you're already getting, then producing those assets needed to get that additional free traffic, and you're doing that for every product on a regular basis, there's no way anybody can compete with you, because very, very few sellers are doing this. We're only still working out how to roll this out across all of our brands at scale. So if you're watching this now, you're literally like, you are the cutting edge, even if you're a beginner. And like I said, it's not going to be very long before this is just as crazy. AI, running an e-commerce brand without AI will be as crazy as trying to run a software company without computers in the office. It's just going to be literally physically not attainable, not possible. As of now, the adopters actually have an advantage. Soon it's going to be just assumed. So let's talk through what it could look like if we did entrust multi-agent orchestration with more of the workflow process rather than going back and forth so much. And I'm going to introduce another tool here, which I don't recommend for most of you unless you're advanced and you really want to test out some other stuff. But Perplexity Computer is a cool tool because it's not tied to any one model. Perplexity is like a connector of models and orchestrator. So it doesn't really do work itself. It just employs models from all the different companies, OpenAI, Claude, Google, whatever. And it uses them all in harmony to produce complex outputs and get complex things done. So it's very similar to Claude Cowork in that it can fill in forms online on your behalf, and it's multi-agent orchestration, just like Claude Cowork. But the difference is, oh no, I can't rewind. I hate when this happens. But the difference is that it's using models from all different companies rather than Claude is using connectors from different companies, but it's not really using other models. It's only using its own model. So this is one for those of you that are a little more advanced, you want to try something else. This is something you might want to give a try. I've used this for everything from helping me sign a new commercial lease to finding really deep insights through deep research that requires contacting people and getting responses from them in order to get the data required to make a judgment. So it's actually like filling in contact forms and then reading the replies from the people who contacted and all that. It can go really deep, and it can take projects a really far away. It's very similar, like I said, to Claude Cowork. The only difference is the multi-model thing. So what I did in this case was a similar thing, but I gave it less data. I just gave it the listing and the search results, and I said, and I can't rewind here for whatever reason, so I don't remember the exact prompt, but it was basically like, do full research, reference all of the top thought leaders in the space, and reference the exact principle that you're quoting, and come up with a full plan to dramatically improve the conversion rate of my listing. Actually draft the images for your hypotheses for each one. So it came up with this, which is similar to the report that we were walking through before with Claude Cowork. The difference is it found holes in the marketplace by doing deep review. In this case, it was scraping Amazon. We're going to get into compliance in a second. You have to be very careful with how you let your bots interact with Amazon. Amazon recently came out just a couple weeks ago with new guidance around this, and you really don't want to get kicked off for doing things wrong. So we're going to talk compliance in a second. I'm going to explain that to you guys. But first, let's go through this. It did a full competitor analysis. It quoted a bunch of thought leaders in the space. And then it went through these different hypotheses. So then it had some good ones. The in-car shot, the complete package showing all the parts. And you can see it's actually giving me drafts this time. The open door shot. And it's showing me what they would look like. Now, these aren't images that would be ready to upload, but at least I can visualize like what that new image would be based on the hypothesis that was completely based on scraping a bunch of customers and reviews and competitors to come up with the hypotheses. So this was pretty cool. So then it went into the secondary images. Based on what's important to customers, it determined that waterproof was one of the most important things. Scratch proof was one of the most important things. Safe with kids and other humans. Universal fit for different vehicles. Easy installation. And it used all of those things that it found important to customers to come up with a hypothesis for an image and then actually draft the image. So that's pretty cool, right? Because now I have like a complete plan. I might not agree with a couple of the things in the report, but in this particular one, I actually agreed with about 70% of it. So that's a pretty good hit rate. So what I would do in this case, since this took me like 2 or 3 of the steps that we were talking about before that we went back and forth with, I still have to actually create the image. So in this case, I used Google Flow so I could show you guys both different ways to do it. Last time I used AI Studio. This time we're going to use Google Flow. And the cool thing about Google Flow is you can generate multiple images at once. So I uploaded my reference image. And then this time I typed in the prompt. I didn't have that last report actually generate the prompt. So I just typed it in based on the hypothesis that it had, but I could have just as easily had it create the prompt itself. And it gave me 2 drafts. Now, these are not ones that I would use as primary image, but I would use them as secondary image. And it got the proportions right. This is a complex product with different functionality. It's got flaps on the side that are not connected to the flaps in the front. It's got the straps that go around the headboard. It got it all right. So it got all the context right. This is definitely something that you actually could legitimately use. To me, it's too much detail to use as a primary image, plus it would violate terms. But it's a good one to use as a secondary image. So it actually works. Another data source that you can use besides your search term report that's even better, I would say, is the search query performance report. So this is a similar process. I'm not going to walk through it again because it's almost exactly the same as what we did for the search term report. But you can see our search query performance report analysis shows us other cool stuff. And the most important thing is the funnel analysis. So you can actually analyze the, it's kind of like the shopper intent, but it's basically the keyword intent of the shoppers by going through the funnel analysis. And the cool thing about this is that you could see whether or not you're doing better on the click or better on the conversion. So ones that have a higher purchase share but lower click share, sorry, this is a purchase share versus impression share, but I also had to analyze click share versus purchase share and impression share versus click share. The critical component here is you can visually see what one's competitors are doing better at getting the click, even though you're really good at getting the conversion, and the other way around, which ones you're good at getting the click, but competitors are better at getting the conversion. So if your purchase share is higher than your click share, that means you're doing a better job converting and you need to figure out how to do a better job getting the clicks for that particular search term. If it's the other way around, you're doing a good job getting the clicks, you need to figure out how to do a better job converting for that particular search term. And if you look at the intent behind the search term, one of these, for example, is machine, another one is bottle. Now I know what I can actually do about that? Those are two very different shopper intents, right? So these insights are really critical. You can get them just by looking at your search query performance report inside brand analytics, but it's so much easier to get those insights from actually looking visually at the data. So it's better to just download the search term report, download the search query performance report and upload it here. For any of you guys that have never done that before, because you're not data people, this is the perfect way to do it. Because literally all you have to do is look at pretty pictures and you'll get the insights. I did a follow-up prompt here that I just really wanted a dedicated dashboard just to look at the difference between purchase share and click share. And it generated me this, which was super valuable. I saw my impression share, click share, cart ad share, which I ignore this one because there's nothing you can do to impact it, but the purchase share. And now I can see there's a lot of these where I have a high click share, but low purchase share. But then I have a few where I have a high purchase share, but low click share. So what does that mean? That means I can, based on whatever this keyword is, hydrogen water bottle, hydrogen water machine, I can determine what needs to be done on either the primary image or the title in the case of click-through rate for that particular term, or in the secondary images, A+ content, brand story, and bullet points in the case of conversion, to resolve these imbalances. And doing both of those things can dramatically impact your profitability, your end of day margin. Because what you're doing is, rather than trying to get the listing relevant for everyone, you're figuring out how to make it relevant for the specific different types of people. And there's usually only like 4 or 5. So you'll find them. You'll, like, for any one of your products, you'll find 4 or 5 shopper intents. You're getting specific insights on what you could do to make it more relevant to those particular buyer groups. And if you do it multiple ways, it's like having like just a more high fidelity marketing strategy instead of like a blurry catch-all strategy for your click-through rate and your conversion. And this can have an incredible impact on your profitability and your margin. So that's cool. And this data you could use as the feeder to create those images as well, just as easily as using the search term report data. We'll talk through scheduling briefly because I told you guys we would cover it. But here's an example of a scheduled task. I'm saying create a daily executive summary for me. And I think I say cover all the most important stuff from my Slack, my Read AI, my email, and a few other sources. And you have to have those connected. So you hit this little plus, go to connectors, and you can connect those things very easily. You just click a button, log in, and you're connected permanently. But so I say create a daily executive summary and send it to me in Slack, because that's where I live. That's where we live inside my company. We all live in Slack. We're a remote company. And send it every day. Send the first one now. And now it's going to schedule that. That'll show up under my scheduled tasks here. So I could always edit them if necessary. It'll ask me a few questions to make sure that it's doing it the way that I want it to do it. And then it'll do that task every day. So anything that you learn, any skill that you like to do, you can set up as a recurring task with a dedicated output that you can then, like we were doing in our flow that we did together here, you can then delegate your team to work in tandem with that thing. So it's a good way to make sure that things that need to be regularly done are regularly done well, because the model kind of forces it to be done well. It's making you upload the data report so that the insights or the theses are actually data backed. It's making you go through, the whatever the prompt or additional context that it needs. It kind of forces quality output, and it's a good way for AI and human team members to work in tandem. We talked about this before, but you can have it work alongside you in the Claude browser. This is me in this very presentation and just having it add some clip art to it. And it's just going to start like working, operating your browser, searching things, adding them. You can do this in spreadsheets. You could do this in presentations. You could do this literally anywhere. You can just have Claude working alongside you in the browser. It's a cool way to work alongside Claude. Okay, I alluded to this before. Let's talk compliance. So Amazon came out with some guidance, and it's still not 100% clear, but I'm going to give you guys my interpretation of what Amazon said about what's allowed and what's not allowed when it comes to agentic AI and its platform. So what seems clearly not allowed is allowing agents to operate your Seller Central account. You don't want agents going in, clicking around your Seller Central account. It seems quite clear that that is something that can get you banned. And we'll see. I'm sure this is going to evolve very quickly over the next couple months. And it already is changing very fast. But that's something that I wouldn't mess with. When it comes to scraping and browsing Amazon itself, Amazon.com, Amazon's guidance was agentic agents are allowed to scrape Amazon or utilize Amazon if they announce themselves as agents, which means in the case of Claude Cowork, you don't want Claude operating your browser on your behalf and going through Amazon, because Amazon may flag that as an agent masquerading as a human. And that's what's against its terms. But if Claude is directly sourcing data from Amazon, not using your browser and opening up tabs like on your behalf and browsing as you, with you signed in and all of that stuff, but it's just directly sourcing with its own servers data on Amazon, that seems to be okay. So you can drop a link to your listing in Claude and ask it to check it out or pull insights or give you recommendations or whatever, that's fine. But if you see it opening up browser tabs in your Chrome browser and navigating Amazon.com, according to Amazon's official guidance, that seems to be against their policy. Now, I've not yet seen enforcement on that, but I'm betting that it will come. So I'd be very careful with that. You don't want to get banned or suspended. Okay. So I told you guys I'd talk about this before too. What do you do if you have one of those artifacts or tools like we talked about before and you actually want to deploy it? Well, first of all, let's try creating one of these artifacts or tools in Cowork, Chat, and Code. I told you guys I'd be showing you the difference between the two. So as an example, we're going to say we're launching a product, create an interactive unit economics modeling tool, and then we drop the link to the product. So here's what we got in Cowork. We got this little unit economics modeling tool. It used research to find out a very accurate explanation of what the costs are likely to be for fulfillment costs, Amazon's seller fee. It included sliders for your tacos target, how many monthly units you're going to sell. It's giving you per unit economics and total monthly economics so that you can model for your new product launch how profitable it's likely to be given certain assumptions. Now, this is a cool tool. It's very useful, especially for new product development or existing product redevelopment. And that worked in Cowork. Now let's see what happens with the exact same prompt in Chat. So it gave us this. Not quite as useful because Chat's not really made for generating tools like this. It's not user-friendly. It's not really clear where you can click and where it's just an output. The data is a little bit messier. Still usable, barely, but it's really not made for that. Chat is made, like I said before, for what you guys are used to using ChatGPT for, or Gemini, which is just chatting back and forth, text, a text prompt and a text response. So, and you can see it actually like changed itself up on me and improved itself randomly without me prompting. That's what this new this new interface was. So it did actually improve itself. You might have heard me talking about it. I don't know. You got to be nice to the AI guys. When the AI apocalypse comes, you don't want to be the first to go. Here's another. I tried this again in Chat just to see what would happen, and it actually did something totally different, which it created a little widget right in the chat. So it didn't create a separate artifact with HTML code that I could download. It actually created a miniature widget in Chat next to the text, which is really interesting. And I didn't even know that it did this because I rarely work in Chat. I'm always working in Cowork and Code. But I thought this was cool too. Just a little, it's a great way to answer a question, is just have a little mini widget where you can adjust things. So that's Chat. Now let's look at Cowork. Sorry, let's look at Code. So we use the exact same prompt, and we're going to compare this with the output that we got in Chat and Cowork. So here's what we got. Already right off the bat, I'm liking this better. It's got dedicated case scenarios, best case, conservative, optimistic, and with premium price. that pre-fill the data. It's actually referencing where it got the data and the estimates from these different things, the storage fee, the referral fee. It has user-friendly sliders. So this was actually, in my opinion, the best output that we got. The cowork was good. The code was even better. So sometimes it's worth trying if you're really actually going deep on, you want to create a tool that's usable for you and the rest of your team that you'll always go back to. Sometimes it's worth trying both cowork and code. They're pretty similar when it comes to creating tools, but code does seem to do a more thorough job in some cases, like in this case. So this is a useful tool, right? I'm going to use this. I want to be able to share it. So what I'm doing here is asking asking code to deploy it live. And to do this, you need to have a connector. Claude's recommended connector is called Netlify, but it can do it. So it will give you a public address, which I now have, and this app is live and the public can use it. Anybody can go on and use this web app now because it's live online. So I could send this to other members of my community, my Amazon seller members in my communities. I could send it to my employees, my team members. This is a live, published, hosted site, which is cool. You know, it's your own little web app that you can use, and you could do it on your own domain. You could use this. Andrew Erickson has a really cool presentation on this in Kevin King's AI event, where he shows brands how to use this feature to create dedicated web apps that go alongside every one of your products, and you use as sort of lead magnets to get opt-ins so that you can put people on your email list and launch more products to them, as well as give them like a fun way to enjoy the product so that you get more reviews. It's a really cool strategy. I've not yet tested it myself, but Andrew got, I think, voted #1 AI presentation in Kevin King's last virtual event for that little nugget there. And he's going to be sharing an advanced version of it on our AI challenge, which is coming up just next week. So that's cool. You can see that it's mobile friendly. It optimizes automatically via mobile. It was a little bit off, a little bit too wide, but in general worked really well on mobile. And now I can bookmark this. I can put this as an app on my desktop. So I literally just went back in code. And so yeah, bookmarked it inside Chrome. But the coolest thing that I liked was just creating a desktop app that I could just click and come back to. So you can start to create your own kind of dedicated to your company, your own little desktop app. So I could just click this and open it up anytime I need to use it. And you can even add in there a section where you add in a dedicated, new source of data or whatever. So it's always updated. I had Claude make me a little icon because I didn't like the ugly icon that it had. And then once it made it, it actually automatically deployed it as a little desktop app on my behalf, even though I didn't ask it to. And then this is what it looks like. Now I've got my little unit economics tool right on my desktop. I can open it anytime. And every time I have a new product launch, I'm just going to use that to model what profitability I'm going to have for my product launch. Pretty cool, right? And you can, like I said, share this with your tool, with your team. You could pin it on Slack. Each Slack channel that you have for each dedicated part of your business can have their own dedicated list of apps that you particularly made for them to be more effective, from sourcing to inventory forecasting to everything. And it will all be custom dedicated to you. That's pretty cool, right? But everything that I covered is literally just the very tip of the iceberg. And if you guys are watching this in time, and even if you're not, there'll be another one coming up after this one. But soon we're going to be doing, in fact, it's in just a couple days, we're doing a 5-day AI agent-based Amazon challenge where you're going to learn a bunch of I gave you guys one Claude skill today to analyze your search term reports. You're going to get a whole handful of Claude skills that do very valuable things inside your company. And we're going to walk you through all different workflows for how to use Claude Cowork and other AI-based tools in your Amazon brand and for your Amazon PPC. We're covering everything from AI video ad generation to inventory forecasting to advanced PPC strategies, dedicated Amazon PPC campaign launching tools that you can utilize, all kinds of cool stuff that make you more effective and more efficient at running your Amazon brand, and ultimately just lead to more profitability and faster revenue growth. That's what the entire 5-day challenge is dedicated towards. And we only focus on the AI strategies and tools that actually make impact. And we tell you what 95% of AI tools and strategies are just hype. Now, the other thing that's really cool about this, and by the way, you can check this out right now, and it won't close the video down. You can check it out by just tapping the link in the description of this video, or you can just scan this QR code here now live with your phone camera, and it'll take you to the page. There's a free version of the ticket and a paid version of the ticket. The paid one comes with coaching. The free one does not. There was a VIP ticket that came with private coaching with me, but that is now sold out. So that's no longer available. But we still have the paid with coaching ticket and the free ticket available for any of you guys that really want to dive into this. You know, it's the future. You want to be ahead of the curve, and you only want to focus on the few things that actually work and know what rest of the 95% that's just AI hype to ignore. This is for you. And one of the coolest things about this event is that we're actually going to allow you need a partner, a verified partner like Sophie Society to be able to do this. But we're going to allow you to connect Claude directly to your Amazon data so that you can query it and use it as kind of a command center for your Amazon brand, rather than having to download reports every time you want to get analysis. So in the example that we did before, where we downloaded the search term report, we download the search query performance report. As part of this challenge, we're going to allow you guys to connect directly to your Amazon data so that you can just query your Amazon data and literally get all of the insights directly from Claude. And it can be basically like just a command center for your entire business, connected to everything about your business, including the most important part, which is your ads data and your sales data and your listing data. So that's an incredible, there's not really many ways to do that right now. You need to connect through a partner who has API access securely. And we are one of those, one of the few that has the ability to do that for you. So even the free ticket holders get access to that as well. We're going to go through basically 5 days. You can see, I'm not going to go through the agenda for each day, but you can see there's a ton included in here. AI market and niche analysis, AI product launch tracking, fully pre-built downloadable Claude skills that are already tested that you can implement and use right away, AI-powered keyword research, Ngram analysis, shopper intent-based analysis, AI-generated Amazon PPC ads, AI product videos, product research, Claude workflows and skills, influencer, AI workflows for influencer outreach, for off Amazon sales, and for creator connections. We're going through AEO, answer engine optimization. This is the new version of SEO to optimize your listings for Rufus and Cosmo. And we even give you skills to help you with that. That can get you more traffic from the approximately 25 to 30% of shoppers that are currently searching with Rufus and Cosmo. Nothing to shake a stick at. That's a quarter to a third of shoppers using Rufus and Cosmo. You don't want to miss out on that traffic. If you're not optimized, you are going to miss out on that. We show you how to optimize for that and a bunch of other stuff. You guys can read through the agenda on the website just by scanning this. Like I said, the VIP ticket is already sold out. I didn't expect it to sell out so fast, but it already sold out. But we still have the group coaching paid ticket access available and the standing room only ticket available, which is free. You do have to verify that you're a brand owner if you do that. So you have to have a 5-minute verification call so we make sure that only brand owners come in. We don't want it flooded with non-brand owners or people who are just poking their head around. This is a commitment. You do have to show up every day. You have to participate or you're asked to leave. You have to do the daily exercises, download the skills, actually use them. We kind of force you to implement AI into your brand through this challenge. And we take it very seriously because we're doing this with our brand, with our portfolio of brands, 7- and 8-figure brands. And we only want people who are really serious about committing to this and are serious about working with other serious sellers and serious partners to make it happen. Obviously, we have fun too. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's like, military boot camp, but I'm just trying to make it clear that if you're not really committed to it, I would just, skip this one. If it's something that you want to have in the background while you're driving around, this is not for you. But if you're really committed to this and you want people that'll hold you accountable to implementing it, this is for you. And I would recommend you get this ticket that has the coaching if you're really committed to it, because that's where you'll get live access to members of my team that are going to help you with the implementation on a day-to-day basis, day 1 through 5. So if you want to join, you can check it out. The link is in the description of this video. You can also just scan this QR code here with your phone camera, and it'll take you right to that page. Everything that we covered today is just really a little taste. During this 5-day challenge, we're going to be going really deep into workflows that touch every aspect of your business. And we're going to be real with you on, is this something that a human should do or an AI should do, or human plus AI? The new org chart of organizations isn't just a bunch of different names of people. It's people and AI agents and AI workflows working in tandem. That's what an org chart for an e-commerce brand must look like in 2026. We're still at the point now where some brand owners can get away with not using AI and they're just kind of riding off their coattails of their previous successes. But those days are not going to last long. If you don't update and you don't start utilizing the strategies and AI workflows and agents that actually work to produce profit and revenue growth at orders of magnitude more efficient and more effectiveness than doing it as a human, you just will not be able to compete with brands that do. So we're still at the point where you can kind of get away with it, but that's really not going to last long. And I really recommend all of you guys get ahead of this, just like we are inside my company, Sophie Society. And I invite you to come along on the journey with us. So please do scan this QR code if you want to.
Yes. And also
like
we have the link in the
go ahead,
description
Augustus.
as well. Yeah.
Right.
Just wanted to say that we're already almost 1.5 hours in. So.
Right. Yeah. We should wrap this up, huh? I think we're at the end here. I thought I had one more thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. This is the last thing I wanted to say. So this is the answer, guys. If you see headlines like this is CNBC, AI is already taking white collar jobs. Economists warn there's much more in the tank. The head of, this was the Ford CEO said it'll replace half of all white collar workers. And it was actually Anthropic's own CEO that said it's going to wipe out half of all entry level white collar jobs and spike employment in the next 1 to 5 years. So the stuff is happening fast. The answer to this, if you ever see headlines like that and it freaks you out, if you don't want to be replaced by AI, you need to be the replacer by embracing AI and fully utilizing it and being able to work alongside it hand in hand, like we did in the little simple example that we did in this video. So I recommend you guys take that path, and I invite you to join me at the challenge. You could scan this or tap the link in the description of this video to join. Thank you, Augustus, for having me on. And thank you guys for paying attention for so long. I meant this to be like 45 minutes, but we went a little over time. So
no worries. Thank you very much, Chris. Let's see if we have maybe 1 or 2 questions. Somebody's asking, when will Claude have a Nano Banana Pro type capability? Probably.
Claude has made the conscious decision not to focus on image generation. It has the ability to generate diagrams and visuals and tools, but it doesn't focus on like realistic image generation. So I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, if ever, that Claude actually gets on the level of Nano Banana Pro. But it may be the case that there'll be more integration between the models in the future. Currently, when you're using Claude, you're using Claude. That's why I showed you guys Perplexity, because Perplexity is different in that way. It just employs models from every different company. But Claude is going to use its own model, Opus or Sonnet. And you can use connectors so that it can use API calls. You actually can technically have Claude Cowork operate Nano Banana Pro in a Chrome browser on your behalf, and it will do it. But I actually had one of my team members get banned from Claude And he thinks that's the reason that it happened was because he was having Claude Cowork generate images in his browser by going to Gemini.com and typing in Gemini.com the prompts, and it was actually doing all the work as him. And we still don't know what term that violated, but that seemed to cause a suspension of his Claude account. So I'm going to give you guys that one with a grain of salt. I'm not sure if I would recommend that, because we do suspect that was the reason that he got suspended there, but it's not impossible.
Right. Okay, there is one more question. How can I keep my data and content from getting out into the Claude cloud? I'm not sure exactly. Maybe the person doesn't want that Claude knows the data, right?
Yeah, I mean, anything that you tell Claude, it is going to store in memory unless you tell it not to. It really depends on the reason that you want the data to not be stored by Claude. It's not going to share your data with other users or anything like that. But if you're worried about security breaches, then that's a whole different story than if you're worried about them using the data to target you with ads or something like that. So you can ask Claude not to use memory in chats if you don't want it to store your data. That's one thing that you can do. But if you're really worried about security or potential security breaches, then or you're conservative about having Claude act on your behalf, then you may just want to, when you make connectors like to Gmail or Calendar or anything else that you consider sensitive or that could fuck stuff up by acting on your behalf, you can just go into settings and you can just set it to needs approval instead of auto approval. And then it's going to ask you before it takes actions rather than just taking actions on your behalf without asking you.
All right, cool. Yeah. Thank you very much for all this knowledge you shared. And once again, those who are watching, you'll find the links below in the description. There is a link for PPC challenge. There is actually someone saying that that person is attending for the 4th time. It's going to be my 4th challenge. Sheikh Howais is his name.
Oh, nice.
And I never miss one.
That's an OG.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing these challenges for a long time, but they weren't AI focused up until this one. This is the first one that's really focused on AI.
So it's a different one. And yeah, there is a link to get your skill, which you promised as well. And yeah, thanks a lot, Chris. And some of you will see you in your challenge.
Thanks, Augustus. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye. And now I would like to invite you to watch other video where Chris is showing more capabilities of Claude Cowork, and he will explain how you can automate some other areas of your Amazon business. So check this out.